just click over to 2 o'clock. So I'll just do a brief introduction. I'm Jackie Dean, the manager of the Career Development Centre, and I'd very much like to welcome you to the KPMG presentation. I think it's a first for both of us, isn't it? First time we've actually had a virtual career fair, and possibly one of the first times that you've joined in with one. Although I guess you've probably been like us, getting used to Zooming into lots of meetings and presentations over the last few weeks. But it's lovely to see you, and we're very grateful that you've been able to be part of this. Adam and I go back a long way, really, don't we, Adam? So I think it was probably about 2014. I was stalking you this morning on LinkedIn to see how long you've been working at KPMG, because I thought perhaps it was the whole time I'd worked at Otago, which is since 2011, but it's slightly more recent than that. But Adam's a great supporter of the students at Otago. And one of the things he's done for us recently is he recorded a video for us called 3 Minutes with Adam Binks, because we've asked some of our employers to give some good advice for right here, right now, because we feel that, you know, the employment landscape's changing a little bit, but it's good to have some really good sound advice from employers. So there's a few of those videos on our YouTube channel at the moment. So if anyone wants a link afterwards, contact me at Careers. But thanks, Adam, for doing that. That was really useful. And then Neve, I don't know quite so well, but I was stalking you as well, Neve. And you were a close neighbour of me in the UK, which is probably why you and I sound a bit similar. So Neve, I think you've got some links to Rochdale in Lancashire, and I come from Lancashire as well. So there you go.
I think Rochdale's frequently voted the worst town in the UK.
Well, I was in Bolton, so your past catches you up eventually when you kind of come together with somebody like me. All right, so in addition to Neve and Adam, we've got Kishley, Patience and Jack. So all three of you are fairly recent graduates, I think. So you're going to be able to exchange some information about your experiences of joining KPMG. So I shall stop talking and I shall mute myself so that even if I'm tempted, you won't hear what I say. And I'll let you take over to the presentation, and I'll be keeping an eye on the chat just in case there's anything particular that we need to be aware of, or if you're getting any questions through. For the students who are on with us today, we'd love to see your faces. And please don't feel worried about asking questions. Just go ahead. Maybe there will be a Q&A at the end, so it's possibly best to leave the verbal questions till the end. But if you wanted to put some written questions through, I can just make sure I make a note of those, just using the chat function. And other than that, as I say, I'm going to do what I said and I'm going to stop talking. So I'll leave it to you now.
Cool. Thanks, Jackie. Hi everybody, so as Jackie mentioned, my name's Neve. I am from Rochdale in the UK. It's a delightful town, about 20 minutes drive from the centre of Manchester. This is our first, I think Adam's done a couple of these virtually for some of the kind of senior stuff that he's been doing, but this is my first virtual expo, so please bear with us. So the structure of today is we wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of our recruitment process, which has majority has stayed the same. And we have obviously adapted our process to a virtual assessment day, which we'll go into a little bit of detail about. We've also then got some of our recent grads who are working in the innovation and growth, technology risk and lighthouse teams, so a mixture of science and technology focuses, and they have quite a unique story, as obviously they started with us on the 28th of February and then about 3 weeks later went into level 4 lockdown. So we'll try and get them to introduce themselves a little bit and give some words of wisdom and what they studied and a little bit about what they do. As Jackie said, any questions, please do put them in the chat, and there will be some time for some questions at the end. I will also, towards the end, pass over to Adam, who's going to talk about our ideation challenge, KPMG challenge. All right, so hopefully this clicks through. Yeah, can everybody see that next screen? Yep, Awesome. So yeah, just obviously Jackie's introduced us, but Adam Binks is the head of talent acquisition at KPMG. So he's my big boss. And I'm Neve, spelt very, very weird, Niamh. It is a Gaelic name, but it is pronounced like Steve, but with an N. So if you see Niamh emailing you at any point, that is me. So some of the opportunities that we do recruit into every year. So you'll see here, these are all the teams that we do recruit into. I won't go into too much detail about all of them, but the key ones for us at the moment, and particularly of a focus for science and technology, would be consulting. So our risk consulting practice, which breaks down into lots of different sub areas. So cybersecurity, forensics, financial risk management, all those types of those technical risk focused roles. We have Lighthouse, which is KPMG Lighthouse is our data and analytics division. So they work with big data, modeling, things like that. So we've got Jack in the team in the call who has been working with Lighthouse for a little while now. And probably one of our newish teams, which is innovation and growth. So this team is actually born out of our tax team, but it will eventually become its own kind of service line and its own client focus. And that's all around science, how we can use that, innovation, research, growth, entrepreneurship, things like that. So we've got Kashale on the call to hopefully give us a bit more insight into that later on. With our other more traditional service lines, so things like audit, tax, enterprise, we are tending to look a little bit more for the commerce, accounting and finance side. So I won't go into too much detail around those, but if anyone does have any questions about them, just pop them in the chat as well. So a very brief overview of our offices. So we're all, I suppose we've got a million more offices now because we're all working from home. But we, our largest office of headcount is Auckland. I actually think these might be a little bit outdated. I think we've got about nearly 1,100 to 12, maybe 1,100 and nationally across New Zealand now. So that's big growth. Auckland is our biggest headcount for office, followed by Wellington. But we do also have our smaller offices in Ashburton and Timaru as well. And obviously we are part of the global network. So we are, KPMG are the only New Zealand owned and operated Big Four, which means that all of our decisions are made here. It's been really, really great for us as we've adapted to a virtual process to be able to make our decisions quickly and, you know, kind of just go to our own partnership and say, this is what we're proposing, this is what we really like to implement, rather than having to kind of wait for any guidelines or kind of governance from overseas anywhere, which has been really good. But as part of that, we are part of the wider KPMG network. So we have over 189,000 people in 152 countries. And each year we send between 30 to 40 staff on short-term secondments across the KPMG network. So they could be for almost like an internship time frame, so about 12 weeks and 3 months. And then we would send them off to their host country, and then we would host some secondments as well. So that's another part of our process, which is quite exciting. We tend to do that a lot with audit and tax, I believe, is the other one as well. So what we're looking for, so the biggest question that I always get asked in a face-to-face expo is, what kind of person are you looking for? What kind of person does KPMG want to hire? And my answer is always, it sounds quite cheesy, but it's just, we just don't have a type or a kind of person. Everybody's different. And I think from our perspective, the fact that we're now recruiting into areas such as innovation and growth and like health, technology and science and cyber, there isn't a cookie cutter person or type of person that fits into that mold. It's more about we're looking for diversity of thought. So what you have learned, you can bring to the table, your different skill sets. If we wanted to hire everybody from, you know, the same background and the same skill set, we'd probably just target like one lecture theatre and say, hey, do you all want jobs at KPMG? But we don't want to do that because we want your expertise and the different skills that you learn. So key, as part of that, the key thing that we look for is that you align to our values. So you can be the most, you know, intelligent person, you can be really switched on and really academically successful, but if you don't kind of align with our values or buy into our values and really have the same value proposition as us, then it's probably not going to be a match, really. So we look for leadership, teamwork, so collaboration. Even today, as an example, this morning, Adam and I have been in a virtual PPC performance and people in performance and culture day, where 26 of our colleagues have all jumped on a call and had a virtual day. So you're never working alone. Even if you feel like you're working from home, you're never working alone. So we're looking for teamwork, collaboration. Problem solving. So essentially our roles, particularly in consulting and Lighthouse and things like that, is the client comes to you with a problem and we need to solve it. So you need to have that real positive outlook, a real problem solutions focused outlook. The glass is half full. How can we fix it? Not it's running empty or anything like that. So that's really important. Resilience and adaptability, I think, go hand in hand. So resilience, I think a perfect example is the current climate. So the whole of our firm basically had to react very, very quickly, as did the rest of New Zealand. And just having that resilience in place to be able to kind of take everything in stride, take a few deep breaths, and try and remember that you're not alone in this, and that building up that resilience is really important. And adaptability as well. So again, adapting to the current situation. The first 3 weeks I just had one laptop and I was trying to do all this recruitment from one screen, and then I actually thought there'll be some people who do their job all the time from one screen, so I should just adapt to that and do with it what I can. So it's just about adapting to the current obviously the current situation and anything else as well. Communication skills. So this one, I think a lot of people think, you need to be able to speak in front of hundreds of people really confidently. That's really not the case. I think you just need to be articulate. You need to back yourself up with ideas, and also be able to read a conversation from both sides. So remember not to kind of dominate too much of a conversation. But for me, for example, I still get really, really nervous doing things like this and talking in lectures and things like that. But I think the more kind of fluid your communication, the conversation is, that's really strong as well. So building that up is always really good. And enthusiasm. So we don't want to meet people virtually or in person who pretty much just don't want to be there. So it's really important for us to understand that you align with the values as well, but also why KPMG? Like, what is it about us that's made you really excited about the opportunity and wanting to apply for us? So you don't have to be, over the top enthusiastic, but just having an interest and being able to articulate that is really important as well. Okay, so really quickly, the steps to join our team. So these were pretty much the same up until we get to step 4, which is now virtual assessment day. So again, just looping back to when we did go into lockdown, we had already opened our applications, and we were really excited about our campaign. We were really excited about seeing, the applications that were going to come through this year. It's my favourite part. I always have it in my diary when we're going to open on the day, and it's always a little bit last minute, but it always works out. And so we did have to look at our process and think, okay, well, which parts of it can we keep the same, and which parts are we going to have to adapt? So the good news for anyone applying is that the process stays exactly the same for you guys pretty much right up until the assessment process. So you would apply online, have a look at our website, look at the teams, look at the life at KPMG, come and meet us virtually. So things like this is a perfect example, and ask us questions about the kind of work that you could be doing. And then applying online. So we did open on the 16th of March. We've got our interns, which we've mostly filled those opportunities now, but they'll be starting in November, and they'll be with us through to February next year. And then we're recruiting for our graduates who will start with us next March. When you apply online, you just need your CV and unofficial transcript. So it doesn't need to be official, and can just be the one that you see on your screenshot. That's absolutely fine. And we ask one application question, which is essentially links back to that enthusiasm piece. So why KPMG and why the team that you've applied for. We don't ask you for a cover letter. So this is something that we haven't done in my time at KPMG, so about 3.5 years. And I know that even before then, I think Adam introduced the concept of not asking for a cover letter. And the reason for that is we used to get really fantastic written cover letters, and they'd be fantastic. And at the end, they'd say, I just cannot wait to work at Deloitte. And, your heart just sinks when you see that. So rather than think, okay, we're getting a copy and pasted cover letter, we want something really unique to KPMG, which is why we introduced the application question. From there, once we have reviewed your application, so your application does get reviewed by one of either myself or Adam, which is very time consuming but very rewarding as well. And the guarantee there is that it will get seen by a human eye. So there's no automatic part of our process that kind of kicks you out, or there's no benchmark essentially. If you have things like a lower GPA or something that you want to talk about in your application, there's a chance for you to tell us that. And also there's a chance for you to really showcase yourself and your skills, so with your CV and with your application question as well. So it will get viewed by one of us. Once that's happened, we'll send you the video recording interview. So it's a recorded interview, it's not a two-way one. People get thrown a bit now, especially now with that, but it is a recording of you answering 2 questions for us, and just we receive that back. You get a practice at both questions, so you can get used to the technology, but hopefully people are a little bit more video friendly now. And then our psychometric assessments as well take about 20 minutes to complete, and they cover off verbal, numerical and abstract reasoning. So from there, that's when the business comes in. So the business will look at your video interview, they'll look at your application questions, they'll look at what you've studied, they'll look at your testing results, and they'll decide whether or not they'd like to meet you virtually. And this was the part of the process that we did have to change. So we'll come on to that in a little bit more detail further on. But basically you would then receive an invite to our virtual assessment day. On the virtual assessment day, you've got some preparatory work to do prior, again, which I'll come into. And then you do have an hour with 2 KPMG senior members, so usually a partner or director, and then a manager or senior manager, so that you get a little bit more exposure to a couple of more people at KPMG. After the assessment day, you will receive, I think I've actually just looked at a typo on this. Yeah, I have. Sorry, those slides are outdated, but that's fine. It is a virtual assessment day, it isn't a face-to-face one at the moment, but even after the assessment day, that still stands. So you will receive a phone call within 24 to 48 hours. At the moment, it is taking us a little bit longer to get back to people, just because where we would have one assessment day with one deliberation process, and we are doing things one-on-one, so it is a little bit harder for us to just get back to everybody, but you will get a phone call regardless of the outcome. So really quickly on the application question, please do not regurgitate our website. We wrote the website, so we know what it says. Please don't use jargon or big words that you don't understand and that you don't use in the correct context, because it just makes your answer seem really nonsensical. And don't lie or exaggerate, because we've had so many instances where a partner later down the line will say, oh, tell me about that time you were in Indonesia helping build schools for, schools for some kids, and they're like, oh, and it's because it wasn't necessarily true. So please don't exaggerate, don't fib, don't lie. It's not good. And then things that you should do though, definitely research us, research our clients, our industries, our sectors, form opinions on things. So read up about us in the news, have a look on LinkedIn, things like that. Find an article, find a value that really resonates with you that you think is applicable, and work on that. Really think about your reasons for applying. So if someone asks you that in person, what would you say? And it's the same thing we're wanting for the application answers. And try and be passionate and enthusiastic. So even though it's a written question, think about the language you're using. So positives, trying to show that passion and enthusiasm as much as you can as you go through the process. We do ask you to aim for about 300 words as well for that one. The video interview, so you'll be asked 2 questions. We do want you to treat this as though you are being recorded for, as though it would be an actual interview, so dress professionally. Pick a quiet and appropriate location. Every year I see people trying to do it in the library, and they've got massive headphones on, and it's really, really hard for us to hear. Sometimes the internet dips in and out, so please do try and pick a good location. Similarly, if you are really struggling with that and you've recorded it and your audio hasn't worked, just let us know, because we were able to reset that for you as well, so that you can, any technical difficulties we can handle. Think about eye contact and body language. So even things like looking at the camera, it's really important, kind of dropping your shoulders, trying to smile. That's really important. A lot of people don't smile, and that nerves piece really does come through there. be prepared. So one thing I always recommend is getting a packet of sticky notes, and you get a chance to review the question. And in that time, just write down the 3 things that you think the question's asking you and just stick them around your laptop screen. And that helps you to stay on track as well, because the worst thing for us is if you forget to answer the question. We have so many great video recordings, but if you don't answer the question, you know, how do we know that you're going to be able to answer a client question or solve a client problem? So it's really important for us that you can articulate yourself. Don't do what I'm doing right now and go really, really fast and rush through all the slides. So definitely pace yourself and pause and take breaths. This is something I have to do all the time. Familiarize yourself with the sound of your own voice. I just hate the sound of my own voice, even on voicemail, but you know, you've got to get past that and practice and things like that. So just try and be yourself as much as you can through the video, and just remember to kind of pace yourself and pause. The other thing is it's not there to trip you up. It's basically an extension of your application. So this video isn't a chance for us to catch you out. We're not going to ask you really horrible questions that you're not going to know the answer to. It's basically, who are you? What more can you tell us in a 6-minute video than you can in an application format? So try and think of it as a positive that way. So our testing is a short 20-minute test. So it's essentially psychometric assessments. The 3 aspects of the testing are timed. So that's the verbal, the numerical, and the abstract. So verbal is comprehension, essentially. Numerical is pretty much what it says on the tin, so numerical reasoning. And abstract reasoning is like sequences, patterns, things like that, what comes next in this sequence. So those ones are timed. We also have a section around situational judgment, which is how you would react to a work situation. Those questions are multiple choice and they're not timed. So that's just more of a how would you adapt to the workplace type of questions as opposed to anything else. And so moving on to our next part. So how did we change our process? So our traditional assessment day included networking, an individual analysis, group work together as a group of 5 or 6, a 10-minute presentation as a group to a panel, a 30-minute interview with a partner or director, an office tour, and networking drinks and nibbles to close, which sounds like a really jam-packed day. And to be honest, it kind of is. It's a half day in the office, so you come in and everything's kind of structured around that. The good thing about that is that there was lots of opportunity for you to connect with your peers, meet other people. Everyone's in the same boat. So we did always get really positive feedback about our assessment days, that it was quite streamlined. But obviously, as we moved to level 4, we really had to move really, really quickly to adapt our process. So what we do now is a virtual assessment day. So we looked at our process and we thought, how can we keep everything streamlined and keep everything the same for the students, particular students who were already in the process, so those who'd already applied with us, those who might have already got through to the video and testing stage. And so we kept everything the same up until the invitation to the physical assessment day. And what we did was we used Calendly, which is a scheduling tool, online scheduling tool. It allows you to book in lots of different timeframes, and then you grab a link and you can send that out to students, and then you book your own time frame with us. So we wanted to give you a bit of choice. Obviously, it's a really unusual situation. It's a really crazy time. Lots of people were moving around the country, trying to get back home. Lots of people were setting up again, not at uni, they were back at home. So we wanted to really work around the students. So that's why we implemented that, so that you guys could book your own time slot in. When students did that, they then got a confirmation from Calendly and then another confirmation from us, just to confirm the details of how to connect with us virtually. And then some more information follows after that. So we incorporated the same aspect of the case. So what we decided to do is we were going to use the same individual task and also the similar kind of presentation format, but you would have to do the prep work the night before. So no matter what time your interview was, at 6 o'clock the night before, students will receive the case study instructions and a workbook, and we're asking you to spend about 45 minutes to an hour on that. And then you do need to email that back to us at least half an hour before your virtual assessment. Once you've completed that, and this is all done via by email as well, but we can give you a call and chat through any parts of that if you're not sure about what to expect. And then in terms of the analysis and presentation, so you then join onto a video call. So we started using Skype for Business, but we quickly moved to Microsoft Teams because it was much better quality for us. And the first half of that, you'll meet 2 KPMGs on the other side, and you would then go through your analysis and present back your risks, your findings, things like that. And they would by that point have your prep work to hand, so they could read that and understand what you were presenting back, and that was the presentation aspect. And then the second part of the assessment essentially is the CV walkthrough. So this is where you can ask questions about the role, and the partner or director can give you a really good overview of the team, the sectors that they work in, the type of work you could be doing, again, why KPMG, how did you find the task, what is it about us that makes you want to work for us, but also what could we do for you, how do you see your career growing, all those types of questions, and that's more of the conversational CV aspect. And then so you get, the whole thing is about an hour, and then at the end it's pretty much the exact same process as before. So we will give you a call as soon as possible to let you know the outcome of the virtual assessment. We are aiming to do that within 48 hours at the moment, but again, if we have a few days, so we have been kind of setting the expectation that if we're doing interviews from Monday to Friday, that might be Friday that you hear back, but we are trying to keep to those timelines as well. So we pretty much shifted, adapted, moved everything virtual, and so far it's been working really well for teams like audit and tax and things like that. So it's worked out quite well. All right, so I have chatted on for quite a while. I think I've probably might have lost a little bit of time with patience, I'm sorry. But I wanted to have a chat to some of our team about about how they, their process they went through, and the teams that they're in, what they studied at uni, and how that, is translated into the role. So I might just say, Patience, are you still there?
I'm still here, but I pretty much have to go.
Okay, that's all good. I can just talk.
If there's any questions or anything, I can answer them. But I pretty much have to drop off to get on a client call.
That's okay, no problem. Apologies for waffling on for half an hour. But I will potentially talk a little bit about what you studied and how you came through the process, if you don't mind me picking that up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, awesome, cool, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Worries. So before we do duck into that, I might just hand over to one of Kashale or Jack, whichever one would like to go first, and potentially if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us, what you studied and what your role is at KPMG now.
So do you want us to just go?
Yeah.
Cool.
Jack?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Jack. I finished studying down in Otago last year. I completed a Bachelor of Commerce, major in Finance, minor in Economics, and a Bachelor of Science in Information Science, and then also did a Master's of Finance. And now I work at Lighthouse in Wellington.
Cool. And what would you, in your words, probably a little bit more detailed than mine, what would you describe to Lighthouse as to someone who might not know what that is?
So Lighthouse is KPMG's sort of data engineering and data science workforce. So a lot of the work we do is data engineering for clients. So that is taking, existing workflows or creating new workflows where we migrating data to the cloud and setting up new systems there. And then once we've got the data in place, doing pieces, data science pieces where we do analytics or other data science work, and then use that to present back to clients as dashboards or new systems that they can use for generating insights or streamlining processes.
Cool. And you also did an internship with us first, didn't you, prior to your grad role?
Yeah, so I interned last summer, and Lighthouse's sort of process for doing interns is you get sort of given a project to work on the whole time, so you sort of work right through a piece of work, and then so at the end you actually have like a something you've completed. And so I was creating something that was actually an internal piece for one of our other departments, but other people completed things for SPCEA, yeah, and the Wellington City Council.
Oh, and how did you find the, I guess not really the transition, but coming in for an internship, completing that, and then rejoining us as a graduate? Did you feel that you were that you kind of got really stuck into some key projects and things once you kind of joined the team again as a graduate?
Yeah, so we were sort of right back into pieces of work. Some of it was actually carrying on from what I'd done as an intern, and then some brand new projects. I've been really lucky to be sort of busy all the way through lockdown as well. And now today's the first day back in the office, so it's nice to be back in here.
That's good. And just one last thing from me. How did you feel when we had grad induction, and we went on grad camp, which is our big induction week where we take all of our grads up north to a secret location, and then we obviously had a couple of weeks in the office, and then we moved to level 4. How did you find that transition?
I was pretty lucky because I sort of already knew my team reasonably well from doing the internship, and then getting to know people. But then it is nice to be back in the office. It's much easier to get some pieces of work done when you can just ask people when they're standing right next to you rather than having to message them on Teams.
Yeah, awesome. And Kashali, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you studied and the team that you're in innovation and growth?
Yeah, sure. So hi guys, I'm Kashali. I completed my bachelor's in forensic science, majoring in cyber forensic, and then I did my master's in information security and digital forensics. And right now I'm working as a consultant for the growth and innovation advisory. And so the role which I'm involved in is like a mixture of technology and finance. So majorly we are involved in understanding what a client does in as a research, or how are they progressing with their research, what all are the financial things which are involved with their ongoing work, and then present the same thing to the government. So it falls under the tax, but it's not it's not completely a tax thing. You have to have a background knowledge. Like for me, I'm from a cybersecurity background, so if any of the client is doing any R&D work in cybersecurity space or anything in development, so it's easy for me to understand what they're doing and write it up and submit it to the government. So yeah, that's basically what we do. Understand what a client is doing, write it, like uh, prepare a kind of a submission thing and present it to the government especially for funding.
Cool. And the team that you're in hasn't actually got, I think you're the second or third grad in the team. Is that correct?
No, I'm the only grad in the team.
Oh, well, there you go. But
Yeah.
I think so we've had a couple of grads go in, so a couple of people as well. How I guess in that sense then, how has it been? How have you found kind of transitioning from just starting? Because I know you didn't do an internship with us, so you just started and then got to know everybody and got to know people in the cohort, and then obviously we went to lockdown. So how did you manage to kind of still continue with your getting to grips with the role and getting to know your buddy and your PM and things like that?
So it was actually hard in the beginning because it was like, so I didn't know what I'm supposed to do. I just saw the the job description when I applied, and I didn't have much insight about what specifically I need to perform. But then again, like it's a very supportive team. Like ours is, I think, one of the smallest team out of all divisions, and especially with my buddy and my PM, like my performance manager. So they all helped me a lot to understand for like the whole month where during the lockdown, they used to check in on me every day to see how I'm coping with my work stress, if I need any kind of help, support to carry on with any of the projects or any of the client work. Yeah, that was pretty much. And we used to have a team meeting every week during the lockdown session to understand each other, like know each other better, because I was the new grad, so they wanted me to make me comfortable, feel comfortable around them, which was pretty awesome, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Jackie, we might just open it up to a couple of questions if anyone has any questions for either Jack, Chalet, or myself, just to break things up a bit. Does anyone have anything they want to ask?
So there are a couple of questions just came through chat. So one of the things that Amar was wondering is whether or not, what the capacity is for you to look at things other than the transcript in terms of marks, because you're doing a master's, aren't you, at the moment? Masters of Data Science, was it? Let me just have another look. And at this point, there are no marks available to be on a transcript, is more or less what you were saying. So with not being able to include a transcript, what else would you look at?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and one that we do get sometimes. So when it comes to that, one thing that I always do is, if I would say, if you haven't got your grades or haven't got your master's results, then we'd look for your undergraduate or bachelor's degree transcript. Even if that isn't necessarily completely related to the role that you've applied for. So, for example, some people do a computer science degree and then do a Master of Accounting. So even if you're applying for an audit role, for example, where the accounting would be key, the other transcript gives us more, it gives us an understanding of how you learn, you know, and what your kind of ability is over a sustained period of time. So if you don't have a master's degree, then we'd obviously just want to see your bachelor's degree, your transcript. And again, unofficial is absolutely fine. We also get a lot of questions where people say, oh, you know, I'm waiting for the uni to send me my official one, and I've paid for it, and we're like, no, you don't have to do that. So yeah, we just need the unofficial one, and that's what we're looking for. That being said, with transcript, it is one part of the process. It isn't the full picture, obviously. So, you know, we do look at everything in relation to everything else. So we'd look at transcript combined with extracurriculars, combined with volunteer or part-time work, and the testing as well. So we do need a transcript, but bachelor's is absolutely fine.
And then there's just one more question here. You've got 14 plus years of experience in industry including business analyst. So, but you're relatively new in the data science area, I think is what you're saying to us. So you're wondering what would be the best option, internship or graduate role? So, I mean, if you want to have that conversation, you can unmute yourself and maybe just talk to Neve and Adam now. Because, yeah.
Yeah, so hi everyone. So actually I have worked for 14 years as a business analyst and a couple of roles in, across globes like Middle East, Africa, South Pacific. So I was a consultant over there and of course ERP consultant and business analysis work I was doing. So no, again, I just want to repeat the question. So because for grad role, what I understand, it is an internship and then starting from scratch. But I was wondering and now currently I'm doing my data science in master, which is actually a new thing for me. Although not exactly for 100% new thing, but it is a upgraded version of what I have done as of now. So which role will suit me? My question is this actually.
Yeah, so I think the key component here is we tend to recruit at two levels. So we recruit into our entry level programs. So those are the graduate and internship type roles. And then we recruit experienced hire roles as well. Experienced hire typically for us is anywhere from normally 4 or 5 years worth of relevant work experience. And obviously the key reason for that is that our early career programs are geared to help people get from year 0 to year 4 or 5. So in that kind of intervening period of 0 to 4 or 5 years experience, we don't tend to recruit externally a hell of a lot. because we grow 120 to 150 young professionals each year through those programs. So it would be very unfair, for example, if Jack had come in as an undergraduate, we then kind of parachute someone in and say, you're going to report to someone that's got a couple of years extra experience to you. They would feel, obviously, perhaps a little bit annoyed at that prospect. So I think the key thing from what you're saying with 14 years of industry experience in a relevant guise, if you line up to one of our experienced hire roles in terms of the skills and experiences that would be required for that level of role, then you would be able to apply for an experienced hire position. The second component would be coming through the graduate program, and I think where there is opportunity to move people more quickly through that so that they're promoted rather than progressed year on year, that would be something that would happen on an individual basis as well. But look, I think that, to be honest, without having looked at your CV and all of your background, it's kind of difficult to answer as an abstract question. But yeah, more than happy if you want to connect with Neve or I afterwards, and we can give you some pointers based on your actual CV as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Adams. So I'll just contact you after this. Thank you so much.
No worries. Hey,
those
Jack.
Those are all the written questions, so it's over to all of you now. I haven't got anything else on my chat, so ask away.
I've got a question if no one else is, if you didn't have a point for Jack there.
Jack, yes, Jack, go ahead.
Hi, so I'm doing a Bachelor of Applied Science and Data Science at Otago at the moment. And I was just wondering what different kind of sectors or businesses you were working with your Lighthouse program, considering it's relatively new.
Yeah, so I can kind of answer that. So we do a number of pieces of work internally for KPMG. So we serve as sort of like the go-to, obviously, for our other departments, tax, consulting, and audit. And so a lot of the time, even when we're working internally for those clients, we're also working for their client as well, because generally it's a piece of audit work for one of the audit clients. And then we also do a lot of work for different banks. We've done some pieces of work for government recently. We have done basically anyone who's a client of KPMG for consulting or for any other part of the firm could be a client for Lighthouse. We're not super locked in on like a specific type of firm.
Yeah, I think just to add to that from an industry perspective, we operate across a number of different sectors. So financial services, small to medium enterprise sector, which we call enterprise. Also, from Jack's perspective, working in Wellington, about 80% of the work would be across government entities as well. In a way, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to answer those questions. Jack, I don't know if you can kind of mask client names and sectors. Do you want to give just a real example to Jack of some of the work that we're doing? A big New Zealand retail bank as opposed to insert name here, and give him a little bit of an idea. Would that be useful?
Yeah. So in terms of what I'm literally working on right now, I'm doing a piece for a company related to the electricity industry, and that's in conjunction with audit. I am working on another piece of work for tax, and then we also worked on some government work. I'm also doing a model review for a large retail bank, and I think we're almost working for all of the large retail banks at the moment, going in and checking over their current systems for different parts of them.
Right, so it's very much not just client side, but indirect client through your own sub-branches.
Yeah, we do both, because quite often if someone is getting consulting work done, then part of that now is becoming more and more there's a technology piece, and where it's actually we need to implement or build something, then we will quite often end up doing that, but rather than advising people on what they should do with technology. And then for like audit now, as more and more it becomes, instead of just looking at and doing like a traditional audit and looking at like a subset of the data, we will do something like go through and reprocess all of their transactions to see if we would come up with the same answer that they did, and if not, why not? And so sort of leveraging the ability because all these transactions are on the computer anyway, so why would we go and like look at all of this, you know, a small subset of them when we can just access all of that and check it all in one go?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
So I'm going to come to Yunji now because you had your hand up at the same time as Jack. So have you got a question?
Yeah, actually, I was just, because you just mentioned this graduation program which can provide a quick process for some of the experienced people, students. Because for me, I've already had several years of experience in the audio line of services. I was in internal control and risk control assessment, something like that. And so, but now I'm back to school because I'm especially interested in the researching the tourism industry, and so I'm also wish to shift into the advisory line of services. So that's why I'm thinking I want to know more detail about the graduation program. So how did it work, and where can I find some more information, and regarding to my cases?
Yeah. So I think with our graduate program, I think there's a lot of different programs out there, especially in New Zealand, which have a program essentially. So it's maybe a 2-year program, an 18-month program. Ours is actually a full-time permanent role, and it does join obviously one of the service lines that you would have, you know, expressed an interest in, have relevant skills for, have met with the team and interviewed through that process for. And so I think it's more of a cohort of skills of grads that come in, rather than a program that kind of has a start or end date. In terms of finding out more information, so at the beginning of last year and all throughout last year, we completely redesigned our careers website, and we made it way more accessible for students and experienced hires as well, so that we could differentiate between the student opportunities, be that postgrad or undergrad level, that kind of thing. And we also had experienced hires as well. So there's lots of information on there about what the program looks like, including our kind of internal team, which is Learn at KPMG, which is our L&D team, learning and development. So all the types of things that you could be doing and that you could be learning and things like that are all on there as well. So we can definitely send you some information on that.
Thank you. So does also align with the same time and with the internship and the new graduate, the time, what about timeline is, or I can actually just can apply or
yes.
Yeah.
So just in terms of timelines, so we are open at the moment for our graduate and intern opportunities, and we have filled quite a lot of our internships throughout, even throughout the lockdown period, but we do have our graduate roles available. Can
I just interrupt there, because I've got a specific question exactly about what you're talking about right now, so I may as well ask it. Holly's wondering whether all of the internship positions are actually filled already, or whether there is still time to apply for the internship.
The Lighthouse, so Lighthouse and haven't filled them, sorry. So we do still have some availability there. We have filled our consulting ones, so that's management consulting and risk consulting. We actually filled a lot of those with our some interns who are returning again to do another summer with us. So we did fill those roles particularly early. So I think the key thing for any application, I think, is definitely get it in as early as you can, but the roles are still, particularly for Lighthouse internships in Auckland and Wellington, they are still live, so you can still apply. But I would just say please do it as soon as possible, because we do have things in the pipeline that are coming up for interviews and virtual assessments. So yeah, the sooner the better for that one. And then just going back to UNG, your point around timelines. So our internship program and our internships and our grad roles are a little bit different. So our internships start in mid-November and run through to mid-February. Then there's usually about a 2-week break, and then our graduates start. So they don't kind of run into one program, if that makes sense. They are 2 separate programs, but with our internships, we do tend to offer those mostly in penultimate year to penultimate year students, with a view to, if the internship goes well and they enjoy their time with us, with a view to offering them a graduate position for the following year. So the internship does feed quite nicely into our grad cohort, but the 2 are quite different programs, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Because
So, Jack, would you like to ask your question about the age study change?
where is that comment? Is it bumped up? Sorry, just trying to log my question.
Or I can ask it. Does the age study change based off which branch of
Oh, sorry,
internship
that should
you're
be
applying
assessment.
for? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that's case study. Looks like it's
right.
auto-corrected.
Case study, yeah.
So do you want to
Next day.
do you want to read that again? Sorry. So does the
case study
change
based off which branch of the internship you're applying for?
The short answer is yes, it does. The long answer is yes, it would have done if we'd have run in-person assessment days for every single service line. So to give a little bit of context, we were going into our graduate recruitment process in terms of assessment on, I think Neve might correct me, but the 20th of March or something like that. And obviously the lockdown started on the 23rd of March or thereabouts. So we had literally less than 48 hours to put together a virtual assessment program. So for the purposes of this round of recruitment, we've actually just run one case that we've had to adapt to a number of different service lines. The difference has been that we've changed the question that we ask. So each individual service line have asked for a slightly different focus on the case information, but that was just to mean that we could, get that up and running in a very, very quick way. And look, I think if there's one thing that's been learned from this, we're a relatively decent sized business. If you look at that slide that Neve put up earlier on, we're actually 1,215 people. So, headcount growth of nearly 200 in the last year. We historically have moved pretty slowly. Look, I think, one of the big learnings from this is we can actually move really, really quickly. We've implemented, the complete Microsoft Teams suite in about 2 weeks. 600 or 700 of our people have had kit delivered to their houses so that they can continue to work effectively from home. We've had to, lean into a number of different things. So a lot of change. And I think when we get to the later part of the year where we may pick up an additional 20 or 30 graduates and interns later in the year, I think our processes at that point will be more reflective of even if they still are virtual, they will be a lot more bespoke by service line, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
So Nupur, would you like to ask yours now?
Yes, so I was just wondering if you could explain more about the innovation and growth thing, because it's new and there isn't much information about it.
Ally, you still here?
Yep, sure.
Yeah. Do you want to give an update to Nupur?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So the innovation and growth, so it's like, as you said, like it's a new team. And so mostly what we do is we help clients get government funds. So government has a R&D funding scheme, which is known as R&D tax incentive, sorry. So we help the client to get those incentives. So the team comprises of different, so we have biologists, scientists, coders, lawyers, accountants, and people like me in cybersec. So what do? We understand what the client is doing, like what main work is being done in the R&D sector for that company. So here the R&D doesn't mean like academic R&D. It can be a business R&D. Like, so if a company is trying to integrate something with a new system, so it might not be an R&D from academic perspective because it has been done already. But again, it depends on the system of the company. So every system is unique to a company. So that's again R&D for the company. So we understand that R&D part, right? Like we present, then we do all the costing models, whatever has been spent on that R&D and how was the R&D done, who all were involved, and then we present that to the government to get the funding for the company. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
So that was all of the written questions, and we've got well, a few minutes to go to 3 o'clock right now. Does anyone else have anything that they particularly want to ask right now?
Sorry, I have one more question. I was wondering if, because it's okay, you said that it's okay to not have a direct like math or commerce background.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, is that for the research and
Innovation and growth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I come from I do have a Bachelor of Science, and that's neuroscience and psychology, so it's not really to do exactly with this. So I was just wondering, is that okay, or I don't know?
It is actually. So we, in our team, we have one of our senior assistant managers actually. So she has a PhD in genetics, and she has worked as like a real scientist in like with a few companies, I guess. I don't remember the name. So, and we also have someone who has done their bachelor's of science in, I think, cellular biology. And then we have someone who has done their bachelor's in nutrition and food science. So you don't need to have like a maths background or commerce background. Even I don't have a commerce background. So we need people who can understand the R&D projects of the clients, because they would be telling it in very technical way. So you need to understand the technical way and present it in a very layman term to the government. Yeah, so it works that way.
Thank you.
Good. So any more questions? Well, obviously it's possible for you to go and ask questions of all of the speakers after the presentation. We can make sure that we share the contact details with you. So there's just time for me now to say thanks very much. Adam and Kishale, Patience is gone now, but thanks Patience anyway. Jack and Neve, it's been great to hear how well everything's tracking and how agile you've been in lockdown. And it's very good news for our students to hear, you know, recruitment's still continuing, there are still opportunities there, and you know, some very good opportunities for scientists at KPMG. So I'm going to leave it for now, but all of you who are actually on the call, if there's any further details that you do need from me, just email careers@otago.ac.nz and we will link you with the speakers, and there will also be a recording of this presentation if you wanted to listen to it through again, that we can sort out for you. So thanks everyone, and
Thank you, Jackie.
next time we see you, I hope it'll be on campus.
Yeah, same. Thanks, everybody.
Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
So much.
So is that okay for everybody? Yeah, all good?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Thank
Well, considering you'd not done that before, Neve, you were very good.
I don't know. I didn't used to do drama, it must be that.
Well, there you go. All right.
In
So,
touch. Anything else from me or Adam, yeah, probably just message me and I'll jump on and help out.
yeah, we will do. And obviously, Lucy will still be keeping in touch with all of the various parts of assistance you might need from us. So, so that's good. All right. So I shall say goodbye. And yeah, we'll speak again. All right. Yeah. Thanks. Really appreciate what you've done today.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Bye. All I've got to do is find the button, the right button. Right, so where's that? And right, Adam.